Guðmundsson. Albert skorar! Albert Guðmundsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergjesson og skoðaðar. Glæsilega. Óskar Örn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur Ingvarsson.
Hello and welcome back to the best pod ever. I'm Ragnar. I am here, and I am joined, as always, but not completely always, but always, by
Tryggvi. I'm also here.
Very good. We are both here, and we're both ready to talk about the feetballs. Back to the regular scheduled programming after the last episode, which was a very special interview, but didn't seem to do Víkingur any favors that you were talking about them.
No, another non-win. There's a better way of saying that, I guess. But yeah, they failed to win again at home. So they've played 3 games at home. They drew against Shamrock Rovers, I think 0-0. They lost against Ignatia 1-0, and then now drew 1-1 against Flora at home. They managed to turn it around in Albania last time. Yeah, everything points to them being able to do the same in Estonia next week. And I mean, even from the interview as well, when Reese and I were speaking about this, he wasn't super optimistic, and the way the game played out yesterday, I think, supported that a little bit. That Víkingur are maybe a better side at this point, and they should be beating Flora, but are and should be are something.
Exactly. Something indeed. But they did do okay in the league, though, in their game against FO. They did win. So that's a non-win.
Yeah, no, that was a good result from them. Good game for the most part. I saw it described somewhere as an incredible comeback. I think that's maybe pushing it a little bit. It was a comeback in the sense that they had to come back, so technically it's correct. So Víkingur pulled ahead early on, and then FO had a really great period where they just outplayed Víkingur completely, scored 2 really nice goals. I think especially the second, I think for Björn Daniel, was one of the goals of the season. He tends to do that. But then in the second half, it was pure Víkingur. I was texting Joe a little bit throughout the second half, and he was quite happy at halftime, but in the second half, as soon as Víkingur equalized and then scored the third goal to go 3-2 ahead, it felt very much like it was sort of a long time coming. It was definitely coming. FO were sitting back, but they weren't super solid, I didn't feel. And Heimir was quite upset after that game. He said that I think the quote from him was that the main lesson from today is you can't beat the best team in the league if you give them 2 goals. And I think that's a fair way to describe it. It's not like the Víkingur didn't earn it and it was some sort of fluke, but it was all a little bit too easy, I felt, in the second half. FO almost equalized in the very last second. I'm not sure how they didn't put the ball in the back of the net there in the 95th minute or something. But yeah, I think a pretty deserved win for Víkingur.
Yeah, and Arnar was pretty happy with the win. But he's probably not super happy about their injury situation. They got a couple of boys out.
Yeah, no, it's not looking super great for them. Gunnar Vatnamar, the Faroese defender, went off in that game, and before that they had Halldór Smári, Mattias Williamson, both injured. Pablo Puña has now been confirmed as out for the rest of the season, which is a huge loss for them. They were expecting 2 other Editlingur and Nikolai Hansen to come back, maybe for the sort of be back to full fitness in the next few days. But yeah, so it's quite impressive that they can win a team away at FO with sort of a smaller squad, but that also speaks to both their mentality and just the quality in that team.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I assume it's because of all these injuries that he played. But interestingly enough, the fact that Óskar Örn played for Víkingur means that he broke the record for the most league games in Iceland ever, and 440, overtaking Gunnleifur Gunnleifsson.
Yeah, it's super impressive from one of the, I think, yeah, definitely one of the best players in Iceland that I've seen sort of over his full career. He's when he was at his peak with KR, for example, I think he was just like incredibly like talented and like those sort of technically gifted and just like he was so consistently good, one of the best players in the league. And the fact that he retired and then was sort of brought in as a fitness coach at Víkingur, but then convinced that he could maybe, you know, just run around with the boys, with the younger boys. He's made the bench a few times. I think he played in the first round for a few seconds, and then that he's being brought on for a game like this. I don't think Arnar would put him on just to break a record when they're leading in a super big game like this. So he definitely deserves being on the pitch, and it's a deserved record for an incredible player.
Yeah, he's great. I loved him. Sad to see him go at KR. Good things must come to an end. This puts, or keeps, one might say, Víkingur 6 points ahead of Breiðablik, albeit with a game in hand. Still, and I say it keeps them 6 points ahead because Breiðablik also did just fine and beat the struggling Fylkir 3-0. Struggling in multiple ways, one might say.
Yeah, nothing super surprising about this result, right?
No, not really. Well, I don't know. Sometimes Fylkir do something weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Know?
But I think it's been less and less a little bit.
Yeah, but Breiðablik don't tend to do such weird things in the wrong direction, though.
Only against Háká.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right. But, I mean, no, this was what we expected. But 2 penalties, though.
Yeah, 2 penalties either side of the sort of sandwiching the only non-penalty goal. Rúnar Páll was not super happy with I think definitely the first one. I think either one, but yeah, I think like you said, it's just a bad time at Fylkir, so it's quite hard for him to come out of a press conference where they lost 3-0 and be happy in general. And I think the situation there maybe is adding a bit of pressure.
Yeah, but I mean, Fylkir are just I don't even know. So they're doing poorly on the pitch. And then they're doing poorly in the decision making tangentially to the pitch because Ragnar Bragi, who was not suspended, was on the bench because they thought he was suspended.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you take all of these times that teams, you know, think that someone's suspended or whatever, and sort of usually it's something absolutely insane. This one's a little bit more understandable. It's one of those things where he had gotten 4 yellow cards, so technically you would expect him to be suspended.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things in Iceland where the disciplinary committee has to meet and confirm and yada yada yada, and they only meet at a specific day and something. So like, technically his suspension hadn't been confirmed, so they sort of jumped the gun a little bit. But yeah, it's. I mean, they are in Iceland. Some might argue. So they have heard of this process before. This is not news to them. So I guess, you know,
yeah,
for an outsider, it might seem a bit, you know, unfortunate. But I mean, they should know this. So yeah, they planned. So they planned this game without Ragnar, and then when they realized that, oh no, he's eligible, it was a bit too late to just bring him on to the starting lineup.
Yeah, I guess. Is it too late? I mean, are they that meticulously prepared? Fylkir at the bottom of the table. Maybe. And then they also have their weird little financial troubles. There were some rumors about them not paying their wages, which they then responded to, saying that they. I mean, I guess it's better. They responded that they negotiated with some players to defer payments until a later date, which is better than just not paying.
Mm.
But it looks like they're struggling in all sorts of ways, in footballing ways, in adhering to the rule set, in paying people. They're not doing great, these boys.
No, and even if somehow by some miracle Runapal saves them from relegation, which it's looking less and less likely, I don't think he's staying there. So I think, they're going to have to start again with someone who wants to take over that club, which, it's also interesting to try to rebuild something there, but it's a shame for them because they seem to be on the right way. They got relegated and they sort of managed to be building something. Runapal was doing quite a good job, and to be honest, is doing a pretty good job given the resources. But it's just, I think it's all a bit too much at the moment for them, and it's a shame for them because I think it could have ended better.
Yeah, but it does not appear to be. We discussed Breiðablik being 6 points off Víkingur. Now we can discuss Valur being 11 points off Víkingur. Still that game in hand, but that puts it at 8 points perhaps. Because Valur went ahead and lost to Káa in Akureyri.
Yeah, not the greatest start for the new manager there.
No.
Yeah, no, it's this will take. I think there was hope at the Valur camp that hiring Tuva would, or Serdan. We need someone to help us pronounce his actual name, not just his Icelandic nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was hope that when they brought him in, that this would be, that they got rid of the previous manager, maybe give a bit of positive thinking, bit of, get the mood back up, let's challenge for the title. But again, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's going to take him a few days. He's only been there for a few days, and they were traveling back, back from Scotland and things like that, so he hasn't had that long with them. But you could see when Valur scored the winning goal, just this exact same mentality, or sort of the reaction to them as reaction to the goal. Of course, they shouldn't be happy that they conceded a goal, but I feel like all season, every time I see Valur concede or not score, or something goes against them, they just get so upset and like the world is against them, and like, oh, why again? Like, they're beating the floor and just like yelling at each other, and it's just like, it seems like not a great place to be.
Yeah.
Even at the very beginning of the season, I think what we talked about when they drew 1-1 against Fram, and they were just like whining and the referee and like whining at each other, and just like it seemed like they just given up, and they were at home against Fram, and they seemed like the world was against them. It just kind of seemed like it's still a little bit. So he has a lot of work to do, I think, on the mentality side, a little bit with his team.
Yeah, agreed. They're grumpy little divas. Sometimes they come off. Yeah, and it's clearly not doing them any favors. They should go and do some team building exercises, some trust falls, and what have you.
Yeah.
But Káa, a hell of a run though. Their past 5 games, they've won 3. One of whom are Valur and the other are Víkingur.
Yeah, no, we spoke a little bit quickly, like if we thought they might make it to the top 6. I think I was being a bit negative on them. I don't know, maybe Stjarnan aren't as... I might want to change it now after watching these, especially ÍA. We'll touch on them a bit later. Like, I'm not sure ÍA has enough in the tank here to keep up this Káa machine off. And then Stjarnan, I don't know. It's hard to tell. So I think Káa actually have a decent chance of making it to the top 6, which is insane.
Yeah, they're on 22 points. They're 3 points, so 1 win off of ÍA in 6th. And their form is good. They're beating the teams at the top of the table.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And their upcoming games are what, Fylkir?
Yeah.
Stjarnan, which will be, I guess, the decider there. Fram.
Like an ÍA, so they're playing, apart from Fylkir, they're playing sort of teams in and around them. So yeah, it's definitely not over, but I think the Fylkir game...
The game against ÍA and Stjarnan, those are going to be literal deciders. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Káa.
Yeah.
Love to see it. A little late run.
Yeah, and Valur is scoring, so that's another feather to their cap.
Absolutely. I mean, because Stjarnan lost to Fram, but I don't remember what we said, whether we did any predictions there. But I mean, that seems fully plausible to me. Fram beating Stjarnan by 1 goal.
Yeah, I think so.
That's not crazy.
No. No, I think, especially coming from that loss in Estonia, where a lot of people, I think us including, were expecting them maybe not to, roll over them, but to sort of squeeze through that tie, given the form they were in and maybe the mentality a little bit they were showing. But yeah, that loss, 4-0 losses in the days and sort of the days afterwards have just been called the worst ever European loss by an Icelandic side. I think maybe that's. I think we need a few more days to step away from that to see if that's actually true. But yeah, and then this game, Fram were just the better side, and then like you said, they won by the 1 goal. It came a bit late, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just Stjarnan they're still good. I think they still have a chance of making it if they can. They only have the league to focus on now. A few days, maybe they can get some players back from injury, give these players a bit of a rest, and then maybe they can regroup and make a real run at the top 6. But yeah, this Fram game, it came a bit too early for them, I think.
Yeah, but Gennaro Daniels, the new Fram player, getting off to a flying start with a goal.
Yeah, nice little header, and scored on his first full debut and looking pretty good. So I mean, they're losing players left, right, and center as well, through sort of people going abroad or going to the US for college and stuff. So it's really good that the people they're bringing in are up to the tasks, because we've seen it from sometimes you bring in a player that's never played in Iceland and nobody, maybe played in smaller leagues. After a promising start to his career, and then they come to Iceland and then they're maybe not quite as up for it as you would have hoped. But yeah, first impressions are quite good.
Yeah, so this makes I mean, I don't know, things keep shuffling around. But I would say that Fram are looking pretty good for the top 6. But you never know. You never know.
I mean, their last games are what? ÍA, Breiðablik, KA, HK, and FH. Yeah, so they're also playing Breiðablik, and they're also playing HK, and then they play teams around them. So they have almost the exact same schedule as KA.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all these teams are gonna have to really step up.
Yeah, and ÍA currently are not stepping up. Their form is starting to look not so great at the moment. 2 draws, 2 losses in their last 4, including this draw against Vestri. I mean, I'd love to see Vestri pick up points. I'm a huge fan. But maybe not good enough for me, yeah.
No. They maybe could have won this early on. They had a few good chances that William Eskelin had saved pretty well. But then it was really striking in the second half how much it was just Vestri. I think in the second half, as far as I remember, they had 1 decent chance when sort of long ball to Victor, who headed it down to Marko Vavric, I think, and who had sort of a shot that he maybe should have left off to Haukur or someone, but he just sort of rattled it over the bar. Otherwise, it was pure Vestri, just going hell for leather on the ÍA goal, which is, I mean, yeah, it's away, but I mean, if you're ÍA, I guess a team that's historically this season struggled at home. They were missing key players. I think you could really tell Jón Gísli and Jonas Val were both missing. And you could tell that they were missing that sort of wide threat that they give, especially Val. But yeah, it's I thought it was really striking how much it was just Vestri going for it and ÍA sitting back and not really showing anything to threaten Vestri.
Yeah, I don't understand ÍA as a team. Maybe they just had a nice little patch there where they were playing well, and the rest of the time they're not so great. But this is me talking badly about them, see if they react. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, they also don't have I think it's just also one of those things where teams towards the middle don't have the biggest squad. So Arnór Smárason is out injured. He's a huge player, and then you're missing these 2 wing backs, and then it's then maybe become a bit predictable. But yeah, it's maybe this is them settling sort of towards the middle of the table. This is maybe where they belong. I don't know. They have a few weeks to prove us wrong.
Yeah, they do. And then the final game didn't happen for kind of ridiculous reason. So the game of Háká KR, the Clash of the Titans, was postponed already because of Háká laying a new carpet, putting a new turf in right at their pitch, and then they did that, and then the game was set to start, and then one of their goals was broken, and they couldn't get another one because they didn't have another goal on site somehow. So then the game was postponed.
Yeah.
This seems a bit, I don't know what the official rule book says there in Iceland for situations like this, but I would kind of assume that if everyone is there ready to go and you can't provide the facilities, then you should forfeit.
Yeah, it's a good question because I mean, like you said, they had already postponed this game by a day, and then yeah, exactly like you said, everyone had showed up, everyone had warmed up, the game was ready to start, and then it was just a last minute inspection, I think, by the referees. So it seems odd that Háká wouldn't have discovered this. I mean, you would have expected them to, look over the pitch after they laid their little carpet thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, Saima Peterson, the chairman of KA, had exactly the same question. And I think it is a good question. Like, what does this mean in terms of like suspensions? Like, are the people suspended for this match still only suspended for this match, or does it carry over to the next game? It's a mess because I mean both teams are playing already this weekend. Kawad is playing on Monday, I think, and then again on like the weekend after. So like it's not that easy to squeeze in this game. And I mean, if they try to squeeze it in midweek next week, then Kawad will be quite like stretched in terms of playing it. I don't know. I think this happens way too often that like Europe comes into this league and throws things up a little bit, in the sense that some teams need to take a break because they can't play certain games, and then like that falls unfairly on some teams. You've had Fram not complaining but sort of saying that like, so that for their last round, that was their first game in like 11 days, and it sort of feels a bit like they're back in preseason. They're playing a game every 10 days.
Yeah.
And then you had that, but then after that you have like a huge packed like sort of fixture list where you're playing every 3 games for some teams, and I feel like this could maybe be organized a little bit better so that if stuff like this comes up, there should be some space for it, because I'm not sure where they're going to put this game now.
Yeah, it's a bit weird and amateurish, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this would just be a forfeit in most other leagues or situations where you show up like this and then you just don't have a goal. I mean, you goofed.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine something like this at the World Cup or Premier League or something level.
Maybe at the World Cup, because then it's the hosts rather than the team,
Yeah.
But in the Premier League, yeah, you would expect if everyone was already warming up and stuff, and the goal was broken, they couldn't get. I mean, first of all, they would just get a new one. But I fail to see how don't have another full-size goal on within their facilities. Yeah,
because they brought out another goal, but apparently I didn't meet the requirements of the referees, so it's all a bit odd, because it is a huge pretty big sporting facility. So yeah, I don't understand why there's only 2 goals at the ready.
Maybe it was like a classic referee thing. They're like, no, the net is a different color.
It could be.
Oh well. In any case, we postponed this little fight here at the bottom. Kawad on 15 points in 9th place. Háká on 14 points in 10th place. A Kawad win would not put them above the skyrocketing Kawa, or on 22 points. Kawa are 7 points behind Kawa. Like, they're in the bottom 4. Very clearly, things have stratified now. There's a bottom 4. There's a middle that sort of bleeds into Valur at the top there. And then there's Víkingur and Breiðablik at the top.
Yeah, that's... There's 6 points. I mean, and there's games in hands and everything, but there's 6 points between Valur and Kawa, which is insane.
Yeah, exactly.
3rd and 8th.
Like,
yeah.
Sorry, Valur, but you're part of the middle pack. Now they're going to grump about it and beat the floor wherever they happen to be and shout at each other and complain to whatever referee they find in the supermarket they're in. We joke. We already discussed Europe largely, right? Right. Is there anything more you want to say there?
No. Just check out the interview that we had with Reese from the Estonian Football Podcast. It was quite good. I think it's quite. Hopefully, we can do something similar if we can go to progress to the next round, because I think it's quite nice to sort of learn more about these teams and these countries. That, like Reese said in the interview, this is the best part about Conference League, that you're seeing these sort of games that you don't normally see.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen PSG against Real Madrid a few times. Víkingur Flora, and this is a bit more interesting, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So check that out. Absolutely.
Still very relevant.
Amen. Then on to the transfer news, I suppose. Start off, I guess, with Valur. We didn't mention it before, but Fredrik Skram, was sent off in that game. And the talk of the town is that this is his last game, potentially, for Valur, and that he's out and then Ögmundur in for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it could be a little like that. I mean, it depends on very much on the coach. But I mean, if you're a new coach and you have Ögmundur Kristinsson, who's a very good goalkeeper, who's going to be your number 1 next season, do you really want to make him upset, or sort of try to give game minutes to a guy who's now suspended for at least for the next game? And do you want to bring him in for the last few rounds if Ögmundur does really well in the next few games? Yeah, I don't know. Especially as a new manager, who has no real relationship with Fredrik, it could very well be that he chooses to, make this cut now and maybe give him a few games towards the end of the season when everything's done. But maybe go with Ögmundur now. Go with the team you're gonna play next season.
Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. That's all for Valur, I think. There's no other transfer rumors there.
No, unless the new man wants to bring in someone. But yeah, no, it looks... I mean, they've spent enough money, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Víkingur, though, signed Tariq Ibrahimovic. It's a great name because it ends in magic. Ibrahim Magic.
Yeah.
That's just ripe for nicknames and slogans and what have you.
I'm a little bit surprised it hasn't caught on more. Maybe now that he goes to Víkingur, it'll be a bit more. You'll get more creativity from the capital region. But yeah, it's a great name. I agree. But a great player as well. He's sort of one of those players that's gone a bit under the radar at Vestre. But he's done a really good job, and he was an interesting signing for Vestre, and I think it's a testament to his talent that Víkingur had to fight off a lot of interest from the league to get him. He was not. They had 2 offers accepted, Vestre, and he chose Víkingur. We don't know the other team yet.
Mm-hmm. But it's bad for Vestre.
Yeah, this is not a player they can really replace. So, but yeah, they are looking for some reinforcements. They brought in a goalkeeper because the goalkeeper they signed, Svit Sigurður, got injured. So they had to bring in another sort of Danish, bring in another Danish goalkeeper. So he was last in South Africa. I sort of had to check that. I went on the South African football club's page to see, okay, was this just transfer market making up stuff, but I saw him on the bench and on the starting lineup, or at least someone with the exact same name. So yeah, he has some international experience, but I don't know if he's going to play at all. He's going to be behind William Eskelin.
Yeah. Then there's questions of whether Damir is going to Víkingur, but people don't seem to think that this is true. But he hasn't been offered a new deal though at Breiðablik.
Yeah, I think not this summer. I'd be very surprised if he comes this summer. But yeah, maybe at the end of the season, if they still don't offer him a new deal and they make him upset. He's been linked with moves abroad as well, so maybe he just chooses that instead of trying with another team, he might go abroad. But yeah, he's Arthur Gunnlaug says that this rumor is just a podcast rumor, so it's fitting that we're talking about it here.
Yeah, that's true. We have no new rumors to create. We just report what we hear.
But Víkingur are looking for someone else. They said they wanted to bring in one or two players. Tariq was one of them, and then so I guess they are looking at someone else. And whether they bring that person in, we'll see. But Arnar says sort of they're on the verge of a historic season. So with all these injuries, you would imagine them looking around to boost their squad.
Yeah, and then another team on the verge of a historic season looking to boost their squad is KR.
Yeah.
They completed a swapsy with FH, with Ástbjörn Gyrðir coming to KR and Floki going to FH. I think we talked about at least half of this deal before. But I mean, fine. It's a deal. It addresses some issues for both teams. Is it the rare win-win?
It might be. I think, especially Ástbjörn, I think is a loss for. I think Gyrðir has also played quite well for FH lately, but I guess they're getting Floki instead. Kind of, they're definitely not the same sort of player, but they're getting a boost in attack. Ástbjörn, we'll see how they cope with that. He's been quite important for them, but I guess with the loss to Víkingur, they can maybe admit that the title is a bit out of their grasp. So maybe it's better to get Floki in and start planning for next season, and rather than to have these two players on the books that they know they'd already agreed a deal with KR to leave at the end of the season. Maybe it's better just to pull off the band-aid and start planning for next year.
It makes sense. But KR aren't done. They're being linked with Valur Guðmundur Andri as well. Do we believe that?
I definitely believe that they're looking at him, and I think he's one of those players that sort of all KR homegrown players that KR are looking at. He's on part of a long list. His contract is supposed to run out at the end of the season, so I definitely believe that they'll pull out all the stops to sign him at the end of the season. Whether they can bring him in now for the summer, we'll see. Again, maybe he hasn't played a huge part in Valur's season so far. He's had sort of periods where he gets some games, scores some goals, but yeah, again, maybe Tuva has the same mentality as Heimir at FH. Maybe it's better just to pull off the bandit, get a few kroner in, maybe bring in some replacement now and get it over with, rather than to wait until the end of the season. It's not like Valur are strengthening a direct competitor at the moment.
No, absolutely not. Fylkir, for all their struggles, are apparently bringing in someone, they say a foreign player who's playing in Iceland, that they're hoping to bring in over the line, but I guess we'll have to wait and see with that. It's a little bit, I don't know, it can't feel good for players who aren't getting paid their wages to see them spending money on bringing someone else in, but maybe they see the point in it, trying to keep themselves in the league, but that seems like a tall order at this point. It's possible. They just have to leapfrog HK and Vestri.
Yeah, it's definitely not impossible. I think, like you said, this bottom four is very tight at the moment, and we still have to go into the split. So where they stop playing the top teams, play more of these underperformers. Yeah. So you never know. I mean, they're the only team of the bottom four that has a win in the last 5 games. So it's.
And that's true. Yeah.
So they're the informed team at the moment.
They are the informed team. HK is the cold streak team on 4 losses in their last 5. Oh Lord, true. And then the inform of the informs, Kawa, are looking to inform themselves even harder by bringing in Dagur Ingi Valsson from Keflavík.
Yeah, I can definitely see Kawa looking around a little bit, but yeah, I guess they don't have that much money, having brought in Valur, and so it seems like a smart deal to bring in someone like that. But again, a bit like with Sami Kamel, do Keflavík want to sort of sell one of their big players now when they're trying to get promoted? We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we talked about last week, I think the transfer market will closing in about 10 days-ish, just over a week. And I think this whole middle and bottom pack might be decided by who brings in who loses who, I think.
It might well be. It might well be. But what will not be decided by that are the 3 stars of the round, because they've already been decided. And the first one's going to new boy, Gennaro Daniels, scoring on your first full debut, looking like a good little player, or a good big player, one or the other. So yeah, deserved little star for him, or a big star.
The second one, I think we need to give it to a Kawa player. The one that I thought was sort of stood out a little bit above the rest was Darko Bulatovic. But yeah, the whole Kawa defense was just very solid, limiting Valur to just a handful of chances. But yeah, Darko coming in, another player coming in this transfer window, and further strengthening Kawa. So
would you say Darko is a bright spot for Kawa? That's a headline for all of you guys. You missed, by the way, in the episode you did on your own the other day. What was the thing? You missed a pun, and it was upsetting to me.
Yeah, I don't remember. Was it something about?
Oh yeah, you said barring you talking about Saint Mirren. You said something barring a miracle for Valur, and you didn't say a Saint Miracle. I guess when I hear it out loud, it's a little bit.
Maybe not worth bringing up a week later.
Whatever, it's fine. It would have been good. It would have been one for the ages. Another one for the ages, though, is receiving the 3rd star of the round, which Silas Songani from Vestri hereby has received. Just a force up front for Vestri, and I guess one of the reasons for their sort of dominance in the second half of their tremendous 0-0 draw.
Yeah, no, he played really well, and I don't think we said it, but I had no idea how that game didn't have goals. Like it's such a stark difference between the 0-0 draw that I spoke about in last weekend between Fylkir and Fram. I think I already forgot about that game. It was so dreadful.
Yeah.
It was one of the worst games I ever saw. This game was a lot of fun, and I have no idea how Vestri didn't score in that second half, because he played really well, Silas. But yeah, unfortunate.
Well, he was unable to seal us the victory for them.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, one thing that, just to move on quickly from that, one thing that I thought was interesting when you were watching that game, I don't know if it was the manager, Davíð Smári, or someone else, but like you could hear from the stands, because I mean, this is, Ísafjörður, it's not a 10,000. I mean, it's a nice stadium, and they were making a lot of noise, the fans, but you can sort of hear individual people sometimes. And you could hear someone calling out from the stand, this is our moment, grab it, like very, like in English, really trying to motivate the players. So like there is, I just thought it was interesting, because you don't often hear these sort of things, I think, coming from, the staff, just like being like throwing out these motivational lines, sort of towards the end of the game. You could really tell that they were trying to build up the momentum for Vestri there to win the game, but alas, or silas.
Very good. And not above it, are you? I would love to see Vestri stay in the league. That's my Christmas wish. Maybe not at the expense of Kawa, but I would love to see them stay. So this is their moment. Grab it.
Yeah.
If we pivot to the listener questions, we asked about the 2 managerial appointments on a scale of 1 to 4, which is the classic scale to ask people about.
Yeah, it's just a limit of, I think Twitter didn't allow to give 1 to 5.
But Spotify let us do a 5-point scale. And on Twitter, Tuva averaged a 2 out of 4. So slightly below average. Which direction did you put that one in?
Yeah, one being lowest. Yeah.
So slightly below average and fully neutral on average on Spotify. So people aren't frothing at the mouth about this appointment, at least not in our circles.
No. There was some criticism, or not criticism, but like sort of this lukewarm reception that I was reading on, reading on Twitter and around, where people are saying, like, this is a bit underwhelming. What has he done? Is he ready to take over this job? He was an assistant before, and I mean, he has done a really good job in Sweden with smaller teams, but I mean, yeah, you don't get a manager coming from Malmö to Valur. That's not the trajectory, really.
No.
At the moment. So, I mean, I think he's an exciting coach who maybe people are underestimating because he wasn't the biggest name sort of in terms of manager here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, a lukewarm response.
And a lukewarm start. But time will tell. And then Óskar Örn, the average there was 2.25, so slightly better.
Yeah, a bit more of a spread. Like there was a lot of 1s, some 4s and stuff. So like a bit. So yeah, the sort of average was 2.25. But yeah, I think Tuva was a bit more sort of everyone kind of felt around 2, and then but for Óskar Örn it was a little bit more of a spread.
Yeah, fair enough. I can see that. I wouldn't really know where to vote there, if I'm being honest. Anything in college is a crapshoot, regardless. Then we asked whether people expected to see Aron Einar or Alfred Finnboga in the Besta, and 40% of people said yes. 60% said no. I mean, fair enough. Do I expect to? I don't know.
Yeah, and for anyone who maybe doesn't know what that is about, it's sort of, there's a bonus episode we did last weekend called Crazy Day, where everything happened on one day. So Aron Einar joined Thor in the first division, and Alfred Finnboga joined Breiðablik, but only as a technical advisor, still playing in Belgium. So it's neither of them are playing in the Besta yet, but maybe in the future, but overwhelmingly not, or not overwhelmingly. But like, people aren't super positive about that.
And then we asked who's going to progress from Víkingur versus Flora, and 80% of people said Víkingur. So I guess we'll see on Thursday, the 15th of August.
Indeed.
So stay tuned for that. If we now look ahead like we do at the coming matches in the Besta Deildin, Vestri take on Víkingur at Víkingur. I mean, we expect a Víkingur to win there, but oh my God, would I love to see Vestri do something crazy. That would be awesome. Fylkir Káa, I mean, it's another chance for Káa to maintain their momentum. Stjarnan Breiðablik, Breiðablik really need to win that one if they want to maintain any semblance of competition at the top. Whereas Stjarnan need to win it if they want to maintain the hope of making the top half. Valur HK, I mean, that's a win for HK, no doubt.
I mean, this is what HK do a little bit. They beat the big boys, so yeah, maybe.
Yeah, let's see. KRFV, we've predicted this many a time, has 3 points to FV. And now KR also have the benefit of not having played for a while. So they're going in cold and in poor form. So that'll be a good one. And the final game, ÍA Fram. I guess ÍA's chance to solidify themselves as a top team. But I don't know. I would give it to Fram at this point.
Yeah, I think Fram, or this kind of has a draw written all over it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see.
That's true.
both teams really need to win. Let's see if IA can chase this game a little bit more than they did the Vestri one.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be all from us. Remember, at Best English on Twitter and Instagram. There's polls and what have you, as you can see, because we referenced said polls. So go take part in them and have a little chat, do a little dance for us, whatever. I don't know. Interact with us and let's have fun. See you later.
Bye. Bless. Jesus.